Hey guys, how's it going? So I just hit level 78 on my magma blast build, which is a Gemling Legionnaire, and I figured I would just go over my endgame setup a little bit. I've been doing maps for a while now, and I mean, I guess it's not the true endgame, but it's the game is pretty hard, so it does take a while to get it to this point, so it does feel like the endgame. So if you want to know how I level this through the campaign, you can check out my last video. Basically, you just level with crossbows to level 14, and then you can start using magma blast, and then you just add hammer of the gods at level 52 for a single target. But yeah, I'm gonna go over my gear, gems, the passive tree, and some Ascendancy stuff. And yeah, I'll just start with the gems, I guess. So I have switched to a shield now. I'm using a two-hander with Giant's Blood and a shield, so I do have a raised shield, which is pretty nice to block attacks from the front. Then I don't use Mace Strike stuff. I'm using so Hammer of the Gods, my big nuke ability. Using it with Ingenuity for cooldown recovery rate. It has a 24-second cooldown to start with, but I have a decent amount of cooldown recovery rate, so it's can I see exactly? I don't know if it shows, but yeah, I have like 50% or something. So yeah, Ingenuity helps, and then you have Fist of War for more AoE and more damage, and it's always up because it's a cooldown. And Primal Armament, just straight up more damage, and then I have Fire Penetration. So Hammer of the Gods is like mainly, well, it does a lot of ignite damage. It is my igniting skill. I have Elemental Focus on my Molten Blast, so I am still using Fire Pen, even though it doesn't scale the ignite damage, just because I don't have much Fire Pen on other places, and the hit damage is still really big. And so I think it's a decent choice just to be more effective versus enemies that have a lot of fire res, because like most bosses I two-shot, and maybe most rares I one-shot, so I'm not really too worried about damage at this point of the game. It's more about just surviving and not wiping your maps. So yeah, I have a Fire Pen here. This is my only 5-link. You could use like some ignite support or maybe heft or something like that. Yeah, not too worried about min-maxing the exact best support at this point. But then for my sort of bread and butter clearing skill, Molten Blast, looks like this. When you dual wield, it looks like this. It doubles. So it does overlap a nice amount when you attack at like a medium range. Like all those will hit. When you double the amount of projectiles, it doesn't overlap as much. So I haven't. I've decided against going dual wield. It might be nice for clearing, but I don't think it's worth it. I think it's really good to have a shield. So yeah, not going dual wield, using Molten Blast with Fire Infusion, 25 gain us extra fire. Scatter Shot to get the multiple projectiles. It's obviously good for clear to have more projectiles, but it's also, I think it's even a net positive for single target as well, because a lot of the time you will be overlapping with these. It's just when the mob is standing really close, it's kind of hard to get the overlaps for some reason. It's easier when when you have perfect range and it just lands everything at that spot, at the max range spot. So, and then an Elemental Focus, because I don't care about igniting with this skill. Then I have Herald of Ash, which just it's mainly for like cleaning up some of the small mobs after you use Hammer of the Gods. Sometimes you gather up big packs and use Hammer of the Gods. That's easier than to just Molten Blast them down. Also, just dropping Hammer of the Gods and holding up block is kind of a nice thing. You gotta be careful not to do what I did right there, though, which is interrupting the cast before it's done, because it goes on cooldown, but you don't get the skill, so you gotta wait like just a little time, and then you can do dodge roll or whatever, or block. So yeah, a little bit of overkill ignites with that, nice for cleanup. Then I have precision for some accuracy. I don't have big accuracy problems, but yeah, I have 94%. I've not gone resolute technique yet, because I haven't felt like I need it, but I might at some point. I guess the higher level I get, the more likely I am to miss. Maybe that's how PoE 1 works, right? So I might look into getting resolute technique, but for now I'm just using precision and some accuracy. Then I have vitality for 1% life, and then I have magnified effect here for more AoE, so it spreads further. It doesn't add any reservation, so I guess it works and it's fine. Then I have Infernal Cry. This only empowers the Hammer of the Gods, not the Molten Blast, because the Molten Blast is not a melee skill, it's 100% a projectile skill, so you can't exert it, but Infernal Cry is still good to like basically double damage on bosses for your Hammer of the Gods. And then you have Premeditation to give 15% more damage, and Raging Cry to get rage when you press it. And then I have Life Tap it, because Hammer of the Gods does cost quite a bit mana. At this point I have a really big mana pool because I randomly have like a bunch of mana on some items. But you want to press those in quick succession, so early on at least I had some mana problems, and right now there's nothing else I really want to get. I don't have too much rage, so the rage, the one Enraged Warcry, I don't think I can make good use of. What the hell is going on with this weapon? Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's Life Tap, and then I have yeah, that's the Infernal Cry. And then I have Overwhelming Presence, so this makes enemies reduced stun and elemental ailment threshold. So the stun, we don't stun a lot. We stun a little bit with the Hammer of the Gods, but projectile skills don't generate a lot of stuns, and non-physical doesn't as well. So we generally don't stun, but the ailment threshold is what we want here. So your chance to ignite is based on how big the hit is. If you, yeah, that's how applying shock and ignite works in PoE 2. Yeah. The actual chance is based on how much damage you do. And generally, I've never hit a boss that I wasn't able to ignite, but this helps. Actually, at some point in the game, I probably did. But yeah, I have a very large chance to ignite at this point with Hammer of the Gods. But as bosses gain higher elemental threshold, you're probably gonna need this anyway. Then I have Clarity here. I don't need it. I don't use a lot of mana at all. I just had 10 spirit over and figured I would do it. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I don't know what else to get for 10 spirit. All the other ones, like Cannibalism, are 15. So, but I am planning on getting in a curse here. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll just finish up this. So, Ancestral Warrior Totem, using Earthquake, Ironwood to make it not die instantly, and Font of Rage to give us some rage when we stand near it. Yeah, and it uses Earthquake, which puts out some Jagged Ground. It's decent, but not amazing. I don't press it that often, but versus bosses, it's nice to precast it or whatever. Get some rage, get some slow. And Leap Slam, I have Rage and Martial Tempo to make the attack speed faster. You very rarely use this. It's not worth it. You just use it to sometimes get out of bad situations, but mostly just to cross gaps. So I don't gain much from the rage here, but whatever. And then I haven't thought of anything else to put in this last slot yet. But yeah, I am thinking about putting in a curse. So I would add this chest to get more spirit. I would take out the clarity. Then I have 63 spirit, and I have room for a blasphemy, which is 60 spirit. Because my old chest is kind of bad. The reason I haven't done it yet is because I want my third lab so I can use it, because it requires a lot of int. I'm not gonna get that high int. So I'm waiting on my third lab. I haven't dropped it yet. I am SSF, by the way. So yeah, just waiting for a... I can't do the Trial of the Sekimas. It's very hard. I don't know how... Yeah, it's super hard. For this build at least, to do the Sekimas with the 3 trials. So I'm waiting to drop what's called an ultimatum with 10 levels you need. Or 10 levels or whatever. in order to actually be able to ascend. I did one with 8 and it didn't let me ascend, so you need 10, I'm pretty sure. And I just haven't dropped one of those yet, so hopefully I can do it when I drop it, but yeah, until then, I guess I'll just talk about the Ascendancies here as well. But when I get this, so my attribute requirements can be satisfied on gems, I'll fit in probably Enfeeble. Could also go, if you cared about damage, you could go Flammability. Could also go Temporal Change is a good middle ground because it actually increases the ignite duration and also slows the enemies down. But Enfeeble is also just very strong, 24% less versus normal magic and rare enemies, so that's pretty huge. I think I'll go with this because again, mapping in the end game is just about surviving pretty much. So yeah, I'll finish that up when I get the lab. I'll switch to that. 4th lab I don't even want to think about. It's gonna take a long time. But yeah, okay. So I get quality here, which is really good. Quality on Molten Blast gives fire exposure, chance to inflict fire exposure on hit. So that's pretty sick. It's super hard to get quality from. I've dropped 2 GCPs I think, which would only give me 2%, which would be a super low chance to inflict it. So I kind of need this still. I have thought about just unspecking this to get this right away, but I am waiting for the 3rd lab. But yeah, this +1 level, it just it's basically like 10 to 15% more damage, depending on the skill. +1 level is just always good. And yeah, quality is also pretty much always good. But when I get the 3rd lab and take this, I will probably unspec from this, because I'm fine losing another 10% damage and gaining this, which doubles the inherent bonuses from strength, which is, I have almost 350 strength, so, and it's 2 life per strength, so that's almost 700 life, which would be a nice bonus to have. That's better than 10% damage, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the Ascendancy. When I get 3rd, I'll unspec this and get these 2, and fit in my aura. I guess we'll go over the tree. It's looking like this. This is pretty much the route you're using for leveling as well. You get some cooldown recovery here. These are projectile damage nodes, so they don't affect your Hammer of the Gods. These are 2-handed nodes, attack speed nodes. Attack speed is really crucial, because when you have slow attack speed, enemies will hit you before you can hit them, and it's really bad. So you take even the small nodes here. Thinking about maybe changing the pathing here at the start, but for now I'll leave it be. Get these armor nodes. We do try to stack pretty high armor. All my items are full armor. You have Physis extra fire here, some ignite stuff, more 200 stuff, strength. In order to fit in Giant's Blood, you have to stack a lot of strength. So you need strength on your equipment and a lot of strength on the tree. Pretty much every travel node I think I have is strength. So yeah, you get a lot of strength. This node, it's decent. Fizz damage prevented, recoup this life. We do prevent a lot of fizz damage. I haven't decided if I want life reg or armor on these small nodes, so I have one of each. This is just more armor. These 2 are aftershocks, so you have 18% chance for aftershocks on your Hammer of the Gods, which is pretty good. It's basically 18% more damage from the hits, at least. I think that's worth it. Also, having, when it does get 2 hits, I mean, you just basically win the boss fight at the spot, on the spot, or if you get a crit. That's partially why I haven't removed Resolute Technique as well, because I do have I managed to get a crit chance on my hammer here, so. But yeah, that's pretty much the tree. It feels like you don't have a lot of points, so there's not much to say here. Avatar of Fire, I guess, is the only, and Giant's Blood are the only keystones. Yeah, just convert everything to fire. Which, by the way, means you can't scale any physical damage like on the tree, because there's no conversion memory in PoE2. So, but yeah, that's enough about the tree, I think. Let's talk about the gear. So I mentioned this hammer. This does have 20% reduced attribute requirements. It's a good stat to have because it's basically the same as having strength. But you just, it's not as good because you don't get the life, but you don't have to stack as much strength. But as you can see, I actually have a little bit higher than what I need for this. I could almost get away with not having that that stat, but I do also have 2 8 strength nodes to take here. So there's other ways. There's more ways for me to get strength. If I were to find a better weapon that doesn't have the reduced requirements, you can still make it work. Otherwise, just get more on the rest of the gear. But yeah, you don't need to worry about the crit, I would say. But it's you just want high fist damage, and if you can, plus the melee skills is really good for Hammer of the Gods. But it doesn't affect the magma blast. And attribute requirements is early on, it's pretty much required to be able to fit Giant's Blood, but I was just using it as a two-hander for a long time as well. But yeah, being able to use the Giant's Blood is kind of hard, so you will see a lot of strength on the gear, and that's a good stat to have. This is what my helm looks like. Basically armor and rarity. Rarity is really good. I think it affects currency drops in PoE too, so definitely want some rarity on the gear. For these runes, you just try to fix the resistances. This is what my shield looks like. Again, strength, resist, and life is basically what I want on my gear. Pretty bad. A lot of my gear is not very good. Some accuracy, again, here is not bad. If you have 0 accuracy on your gear, maybe then it's worth to take Resolute Technique. Again, you don't miss out on that much by not having crits, but it's kind of nice, especially if you roll it on your weapon, having a 9% chance to double your damage, that's kind of nice. That's the gear. Rings, yeah, like this. Resistances are pretty important, but I mean, I still don't have a capped resist. It's really hard to cap resists in this game. Gloves. Getting increased attack speed on your gloves is really important if you don't have it on your weapon. If you have a 5 link, you could use the martial tempo on the magma blast to compensate for having, if you don't have attack speed on your weapon or the gloves. Or maybe just combine everything and have really fast attack speed. Would be nice as well. Belt looks like this. I've managed to get a bunch of mana regeneration rate, so I don't have any mana problems. But I think even without them, just using your flask is enough. Maybe if you're really struggling, you can use clarity. That's what I did, like in the acts, but I still have it, but I don't need it. Yeah, and then boots like this. You do want some movement speed because otherwise you're just completely slow. You get no movement speed from the tree or anything, so some movement speed is nice. And then this chest, Wandering Reliquary. It's good early on. I think at this point it's outdated for me. Basically it's the same as this node, but it's like 3.3 of this node. Pretty good. Like getting 3 of a notable seems pretty strong. So overall it's a strong chest. I don't mind using it. It also has strength, which you need, and a decent amount of armor. But I think with a chest like this that has double the armor and I can fit in a curse, that's better. I have immunity to freeze on a charm, but you want to get you want to switch your charms for the right situation. If you can get a charm slot on your belt, a second one, that would be great. You want an instant life flask, but yeah, your flasks mods don't matter too much. I have gains charges here. I never have to press my mana flask unless I am facing a mana siphoner or something like that. Mana is generally not an issue. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Not sure what the plans are, just keep grinding, I guess. If at some point I get Merklab and Uberlab, if I get Uberlab, it'll be these 4 points. Other than that, I don't have any plans for the character, just see where it takes me. Maybe Titan's Grip with 2 two-handers at some point, but probably not. I think you're always going to want the defenses. You're going to prioritize defenses always, I think. But maybe there's some like... So with the overlap on the Magma Blast, I think versus a very big character model, like the Maven's Brain or something like that, you would hit all the projectiles and you could do a ton of damage with that. Maybe, but yeah. I think that's enough for this video. It just hit 1,000 subscribers, by the way, so thank you guys for that. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.